Hi there, I'm John with Serra Collective, and today we are in Bradley Klem's studio, who is our featured artist for the month of February and March this year. He's also our very first featured artist, which is super exciting. Thanks for having me, Brad. How you doing today?
Good.
Yeah, we obviously go way back. Brad and I have known each other for a long time, and he has been instrumental in helping with some of the beginnings of Serra. But today, we're not going to be talking so much about Serra, but about Brad's own work and his own experience as an artist. So what we're doing is kind of some intro questions. We're kind of considering these like Serra-based questions, so things that really have to do with what art is. And Luna is going to be joining us in and out of the shot today. So Luna is Brad's puppy. So the first question is, really, how did you get into art making? And when did you really consider yourself an artist?
When I was a kid, I just, I think when I was a kid, I was always drawing, always really interested in making things, drawing things, and curious about art.
And at what point did you kind of transition into making that a career?
So I went to college for art, and I was in school for painting at ASU, and I was pursuing that degree until I had probably a semester of school left, and I dropped out because I think I don't know. I was young. I think I just needed some life experience, some maturity, and I also just didn't really see. I didn't really have a good vision for where that was taking me or how to really pursue that as a career or to, what to do with that. And I just went and got a job. I worked at this lighting company for many years. And then at a certain point, that lighting company laid off several employees, including myself, and I went back to school. And in the meantime, had been doing like some woodworking in my garage. I had been doing some other creative activities other than painting, and I didn't want to go back and pursue a painting degree. So that's when I got into clay.
Cool.
And
that's when we met, obviously.
That's when we met.
Undergrad
and
studios, yeah.
It was like a very, I thought, oh, this is really interesting. Maybe I'll work with clay. I was really interested at the time, and still very much am, in making a functional thing, something that I could use that would also be an art object. And very quickly was addicted. I knew it was the thing that I was going to spend the rest of my life doing.
Very cool.
So,
how do you personally see art existing and kind of functioning in culture and in society?
Oh man, that's a good question. I don't know. Sometimes it's very frustrating the way art exists, especially in like. Thanks, Luna. I think that very often, the way most people think of how art functions in society is in a white room for fancy people. And often it does. And that is I think that is messed up. There's something about that that's not quite right. Or maybe it's not the whole picture, and it's very much this like product of a capitalist system.
Maybe to kind of extend the question is how would you like to see your own work function in society, and what places would you like to see your work exist in?
I think what I would like to see is I would like to see a world where people feel like art belongs to them, not because they are really smart or they have a lot of money or they've went to school for art or they're an artist. I want people to feel like art is something that is theirs simply because they're human. Because I think that's true. And I have a lot of people tell me that they're not creative or that they could never be an artist, and I never believed them because I think that's just inherent. So I don't know. We've created this system or this existence where art feels so out of touch, out of reach for like just everyone. everyday people. And so, how do I want my art to exist? I think I would just like to make art that anyone can connect with, or I think I would want to have an audience that anyone feels like they could be part of the conversation with my work. I don't know how to word that.
I think that's a good answer. I think kind of that resonates, that makes sense. Is there anything about your work that you really kind of want people to know, or things that you're doing right now that you're excited to share?
Like I could just describe kind of what I do, maybe.
Sure.
Pretty much with everything that I make, it sort of comes back to an interest in human history and the history of really the history of clay, ceramic objects. And I think about how most of what we know about human history and various cultures throughout time is through ceramic objects. Really, not because the only objects that people made were out of clay, but just because those are the ones that last. They last a really long time. And so I think about that. A lot of them are vessels, and I also think about, the objects like that we make today, which are, mostly single-use plastic vessels, also from cultures everywhere, and from everyone. And so I kind of bring together this almost like a story of the objects of history and the objects that are currently creating our future. I really like to play with that kind of context for the work. So I make a lot of pots.
Yeah. It's like objects of history, objects of modernity, thinking about how they relate to each other. And do you want to mention fish?
Yeah. Also, I mean, a lot of it, I at some point I'm really interested in fishing, or maybe I'm just interested in water, the ocean, mainly because I grew up fishing a lot. And so my experience of nature, my experience of the environment is largely been through the lens of being on the water somewhere throughout my childhood. So that's something that's just close to me on a personal level. And at some point, I was in grad school and I heard this, there's all these predictions about the future and what climate change is doing. And one of those predictions was that by 2050, the mass of plastic in the ocean would outweigh that of the mass of fish in the ocean. And that was shocking to me. I started making work that was very much related to that, this idea of the replacement of the fish with the plastic and the pollution. So that is a very common thread throughout my work.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. Thanks for inviting us to your studio space, Brad, and having this brief little conversation, sharing some info about your work. I guess in closing, is there anything else that you want to add?
Yeah, I'm happy to, to be connected with Serra Collective and to be part of that mission and to further what is going on there, because I think it's actually, going back to what we were talking about with how art exists in the world. I think that this is one way to correct some of the problems that I think exist as well. So,
cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're happy to have you.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for watching. You can find Brad's work on the website right now. And if you participate in the tiered pricing at one of the higher 2 tiers, you are entered into a raffle to win some of his cups. So thank you guys as always for the support, and look forward to talking soon.